science reveals the secret to resilience. Hi everyone, Mazen here. Welcome to the Maximal Life. Today we're going to begin our talk with a visual. Imagine yourself sitting near your favorite window. You stare out at a ferocious storm. You can hear the immense pressure of the wind forcing its way into your house. The window pane shakes. Your plants and shrubs rip out of the ground and tangle into each other. There is a long row of trees with stripped limbs. They tear through the air and rip each other to shreds. A field of grass looks as slick as a lake. You notice a lone tree right in the middle of your view, same as the other trees, except it stands perfectly still. As you are staring up, amazed by the upheaval, where do your eyes land? My guess would be the lone tree, right? I'd be staring at a tree that appeared to be defying the basic laws of nature. It is natural for our eyes to take solace to fix on the stillness in the storm. As Maximal Achievers, we are the stillness in the storm, the steadfast leader of our team, the rocks of our families. I know my father is my rock. In most ways, it is an honor and a privilege to be in such a position for my family and in my businesses and often in my community. Sometimes there is a great deal of pressure involved, both personally and professionally. As Maximal Achievers, we thrive in rising to the next level, healthier, stronger, and wiser. I know in my life, especially in my early 20s, I put a tremendous amount of pressure on myself. My first year in college, I swamped myself with too many courses. My friend even gave me a t-shirt that said, "If you can see me, I should be studying." I was hard on myself, and everyone who cared about me tried to help me lift my nose off the grindstone. Anytime I couldn't manage this crazy self-inflicted schedule perfectly, I really beat myself up. I did not think of it as self-criticism. I thought it was motivation. About midway into my third semester, I had a major burnout. I just can't get it through. I can't get through it. There's too much to get through now and even more coming. I thought I could do it, but now I'm drowning. I go to one of my professors to request an extension. I must look terrible because he leans in into me and whispers, "A lot of students find it hard not to fall behind the first year." I confess as though I were joking. "I don't know how I'm going to make it through to the end of the school year, Professor." He smiled. He was an interesting and peculiar person, very smart, amongst the smartest professors on campus, I always thought. So I asked him, "Do you have any advice?" And he replied, "Yeah, make your bed every morning as soon as you get up." What? The last thing I want to hear is that I need to add more work to my schedule. I asked, "Did you say make your bed?" And he says, "Yes." I ask again, "How is that going to help me?" And like some ancient sensei, he barked, "Make your bed so that when you return, your bed is made." It is so simplistic that it is almost silly and I want to laugh. But even as a teenager, I can sense there was weight in his words. I decided to just do exactly what he suggested. I don't know if it was my professor's intention, but taking that advice changed my entire life. And I'll tell you how in a few minutes. In our steps toward the maximal life, we uncover scientific evidence that reveals time and again that the keys and secrets to stepping into our maximal self requires a shift in perspective. We also often uncover that cultural conditioning is the culprit behind why these shifts in perspectives need to be made in the first place. For instance, a major player in cultural conditioning is the support of negative and dissatisfied views of ourselves and our lives. It is embedded in everything: advertisements, news articles, celebrity coverage. The media want us to feel dissatisfaction with ourselves and with each other and also with our lifestyles. Why? Because it makes us better consumers. This has been going on for long, and that is becoming embedded into the fabric of our daily existence. As a result, many of us believe being self-critical and fiercely competitive is a good thing, a testament to endurance. And we are fueled by the cultural mentality that competition, grinding, and being self-critical is vital for being successful. Research studies are proving that this type of conditioning not only exists, but is actually working against us. Self-criticism does not know the difference between failing and being a failure. Scientific data shows that self-criticism actually makes us more brittle in the face of failure, not stronger, not more resilient, and not more likely to succeed. Not only does this practice of self-criticism make it more difficult to rebound from inevitable setbacks, but studies also show that you will be less likely to recognize the valuable lessons obtained only through necessary failures. When we self-criticize, the mind will twist neutral situations into waking nightmares. In fact, there is no scientific evidence to prove being strongly critical of yourself is a motivational tool for success. What scientific evidence does prove is that being strongly critical of yourself leads to behavioral problems, such as impulse control issues, anxiety, depression, and addiction. Circumstances often do not meet up with harsh and unrealistic expectations, and our efforts and our energy are set up to fall short. Research psychologist Michael Addis wrote this: "A man's masculinity is measured in large part by his ability to make his public accomplishments widely seen and heard, while keeping his inner life silent and invisible." Dr. Addis goes on to complete studies that conclude that this mentality contributes to a wide range of problems that include lower levels of health-promoting behaviors, higher levels of health risk behaviors, and higher levels of drug and alcohol abuse. These are the results of cultural conditioning and self-criticism. The stakes are higher than we might have expected. This research reveals that self-criticism can be a direct contributor to a shortened life expectancy. Self-criticism can contribute in determining how much time we get to spend on Earth. Okay, let's talk a little bit about being human. Theodore Roosevelt said, "Do what you can with what you have from where you are." Another bit of advice that is almost too simple, but simple suggestions are often the ones that stay with us. We are working to recondition our minds. Conditioning happens within our minds at the most primitive level. When anything embedded into our primitive mind is linked to our instinct to survive. Phrases that are simple and easy to recall are valuable tools when dealing with our primitive selves. When self-criticism releases waves of negative stress hormones, worry, and competitive anger, a simple reminder can just be the ticket. Often, the simplest bits of wisdom, concise and in a few words as possible, are perfect for cutting through the matrix and remaining our higher selves, that we have the infinite options for how we choose to respond to every situation we encounter. As human beings, we make mistakes. The last mistake you ever make will be the last time you learn something new. Self-criticism not only condemns us from being human, which is clearly an error in judgment, as we are in fact human, but also prevents us from appreciating and owning the valuable lessons from our failures and our mistakes. These lessons often contribute directly to improving ourselves in a way we otherwise would not have improved. The title of our talk today is Science Reveals the Secret to Resilience. One definition of resilience is a person's ability to recover quickly from difficult situations. Self-criticism depletes us of our resilience. As we constantly express a lack of trust in our hard work and disappointment for failing short on various expectations, we chip away at our faith in ourselves. Our relationships with ourselves then tend to take the same tone with our relationships with people around us. We can become impatient with our staff, unreasonable with our loved ones, and find fault everywhere we look. We kick ourselves when we are down. We dare ourselves to stay down, and the grind mind conditions us to call this motivation. This behavior will only take a difficult situation and make it more difficult. So, what creates resiliency? Why do some people bounce back from difficult situations? Often, credit is given to love and the support offered by friends, family, and sometimes even the entire community. When other people face tragedy, we feel compassion, especially if we can relate to their situation on a human level. According to Dr. Christian Neff, having compassion for another person means that you realize suffering, failure, and imperfection is part of the shared human experience. You will spend more time with yourself in this life than you will spend with anyone else that you will ever meet. Having compassion for the people around you can inspire resilience in times and difficulties. Having self-compassion, as you would for a friend, lays down a bedrock of resilience that will be there for you to steady yourself through anything life throws at you. Sri Ravi Shankar puts it so simply. I always recall it when I'm getting too critical. He said, "The state of your life depends on the state of your mind. So be kind to yourself." Self-compassion is too often categorized as self-pity or weakness. Be kind to yourself. Self-compassion can bring up the idea of coddling or selfishness. This is cultural conditioning. Self-compassion flips the switch. The term self-compassion can often be met with resistance. When my professor told me to start making my bed every day, I thought, this is stupid, this is lame. At one point, I was seriously considering that he may just be messing with me or messing with my head. And maybe he was. All I know is that no matter how busy my schedule for the day, the first thing I would do every morning is make my bed. I did not realize it at that time, but I was making a gesture. After a week, I was surprised how nice it was to go into my bedroom and see my bed looking neat and in order. I think it made me feel more in order. I also really began to enjoy crawling into a nice clean bed every night. And instead of just rolling in the same way I rolled out, just like I never left, this simple gesture of kindness toward myself revealed to me that when I show myself compassion, I appreciate myself for it later. I've built so much of my success and the deposits of resiliency I've made by treating myself as though I were valuable. It makes sense, right? Making my bed every day was a bit inconvenient, but I was doing myself a courtesy, just like I would do a courtesy for a friend. Coming home to find my bed made instead of carelessly disheveled helped me feel less disheveled. We know the brain is a bank, and we can only withdraw what we deposit. When we deposit self-compassion, it doubles in the return. Self-compassion is an excellent investment. We know that energy is the antidote, and self-compassion is the key to resilience. Another definition of resilience is the ability to spring back in shape or form after being bent, stretched, or compressed. Remember that rigid, unnatural tree from the visual I shared with you in the beginning? Did you identify with that tree? I did. When I first pictured that scenario, I even thought I wanted to be that tree. But it's not realistic. It is unreasonable expectation for a tree. Tree needs to bend and stretch so they don't break and they can continue to grow. Dr. Christian Neff led an in-depth neurological study of compassion. She found that self-compassionate people can recognize that being imperfect and experiencing life difficulties is inevitable. So they tend to handle things with equanimity. Equanimity is the human version of stillness in the storm. Equanimity is defined as mental or emotional stability which is undisturbed by exposure to emotion, pain, or other experiences that would cause most people to lose their balance or their minds. It is not weak to acknowledge humanness as an observable reality. Now we can recognize where cultural conditioning has interfered with our progress. Here are the 3 power angles of practicing self-compassion. Number 1, resilience, the ability to know you can handle anything. Number 2, human awareness, recognizing we've been culturally conditioned to berate our own efforts unless if they meet unrealistic expectations, and making the decision to treat yourself as you would with a friend, with value and courtesy. 3, equanimity, the real stillness in the storm, the ability to remain calm and rooted with all your faculties sharp and available, armed with the inner certainty that you are doing everything you can to make a situation better and not worse. A simple gesture can be the beginning of a lifelong practice. I don't always make my bed in the morning now, but no matter how busy my schedule, the first thing I do every morning is kiss my wife. And that brings me resilience to face the day. I also like to drink protein shakes a couple times a day, especially when I'm on the go. Most days, before I leave the house, I prep my shake bottles for the day. Prepping a few protein shakes takes less than 5 minutes, but when I'm in a rush, it feels like I'm saving an hour to have them lined up for me just to grab. Seeing that I had the time to do that for myself in advance helps me feel like I have enough time to do it all. That brings me resilience. When I know I want to get to the gym early in the morning, I pack my bag up the night before and leave it by the door. And the feeling of being prepared to walk out of the door brings me resilience. Really, try it. Find a small gesture of kindness to make toward yourself. Make your gym bag packed and ready to go on the night before. Leave yourself healthy snacks where you may want to grab them later. Lay out your clothes for the morning. Arrange your space in a way that pleases you and keep it that way. Even just make your bed every morning. Whatever it is, do it for your own best interest. Try it for a week and then share your results with me under this video. I would love to hear your stories about how investing in your self-compassion is expanding your resilience beyond the boundaries of cultural conditioning. Thank you all for joining me as always. I appreciate that you're taking the time to open your mind to new research and to the science of resilience. We always have the power to choose to live as our maximal self. We get to make that powerful choice any day and every day. So today, remember, choose to be kind to yourself as you step into your maximal life. If you like what you have seen and heard, please subscribe.